Hello and welcome to the ninth episode of When I Was Your Age. I'm your host, Roland Parker, coming to you from my guest bedroom downstairs. And as always, it is a joy, a pleasure, and a treat to have you here. Today's guest, we got Matthew Bates, a longtime friend. Really excited to chop it up with him, catch up a little bit as well. A bit of housekeeping before we get into it. Make sure that you follow the Instagram at WIWYA pod. Thank you guys so much for the support. We are creeping up there. We got 421 followers. Make sure that you send in your questions. If you got something that you'd really like to ask anybody and everybody, I'd love to hear it. And you can do that over DMs or email. WIWYApod at gmail.com is our email. All right. And now that we've kind of gotten into it, I'm going to bring Matthew into the stream. Matthew, what do you say? How are you doing?
What's up? What's up?
Dude,
I'm doing great. I'm doing
it's a
great.
good
Just
deal.
cleaned up.
Nice. So you were coming from a private lesson, is that right?
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's actually funny. The family that I'm doing this for is their last name is Bates, and we're totally unrelated, but they're in Vestavia, and it's just kind of cool.
No
He's
way.
a left-handed slinger, so it's fun to work with those guys.
Nice. Good deal. That's funny. And are you also left-handed? I'm trying to remember.
No, I'm right-handed, so and then left-handed was never my strength, so it's I'm not ambidextrous or whatever. So
Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's I might ask you more about that later, but I never thought about switching in the same way that you might for
oh
going for a layup down
yeah.
the left side of the lane or something like that. But that's good. So
Mm-hmm.
how are you feeling? How are you feeling? Like what are you up to most recently?
I'm feeling great. I'm really enjoying being back in Birmingham. Have y'all moved back yet? Is that still happening, or are y'all still in Tennessee?
Yeah, we moved back. We are in Bluff
Okay.
Park. I
Okay.
won't
Sweet. Awesome.
I won't get too specific. Let
Yeah,
everybody
that's
figure it
good.
out for themselves.
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry.
but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a no. You're good. You're good. We moved back a little bit after Thanksgiving, but we
Cool.
stayed with my parents for about 3 weeks, kind of after that to help get some things finalized with the house.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
but yeah,
awesome.
that's it. We're loving it. We're very close to my parents. They come over all the time. We bring
Yeah.
the girls over to them. We went to Singo with them last night. Actually, we went to Uproot, um, and it was my parents and aunt and uncle and cousins and um, yeah, it was a fun time. They did Yacht Rock was the first round,
Okay.
and then it
Nice.
was like top one hits number one hit. So that was fun. I'd go back.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never been to Uproot. I've seen the new painting on the side, but I've never been.
Yeah, my understanding is that is where one iteration of Ghost Train like once was. Does that sound
Well,
right?
yeah. So Ghost Train was actually owned by it was actually a Greek family, or he wasn't Greek, but his wife was Greek, and is the Constantines, and he owned Ghost Train. And he sold it, and when he sold it, that's when they split off into the two Ghost Trains that are now. And I don't know, like the new ownership. I think I don't know all the details, but
Yeah,
bottom line was Ghost Train split up, and then they started doing some rebranding stuff.
nice, good deal. Yeah, I
Yeah.
went to maybe around this time last year, maybe a little bit further on. Went to like when they got the second location over by like the trail to maybe not a trail but like that that paved area coming
Yeah.
up the back.
Mhm.
So I haven't been to the the first other smaller ghost train, but I've been to the bigger one. We met up with some people out there.
Yeah. Yeah, but back to your question, I'm good, man. I like being in Birmingham, and I'm working and coaching lacrosse and trying to hang out with the buddies that are in town. So it's good to be back.
Nice, man. That's awesome.
And,
That's great to
and
hear.
I don't know if you knew that my parents, they're not even in Birmingham, so that was kind of a weird. Like all the siblings are in Birmingham, but my parents are not in Birmingham. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I feel like I remember talking with you about it in that
yeah,
they're like out living like on the lake, right?
yeah, in Titus, Alabama. I never
Titus.
thought that that would be something I could say.
Nice, dude. It's just soaking it up, living it out. Love that for
Oh
them.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'll have to swing by and get some
Dude.
baklava or peanut butter cake or something.
Yeah, you could do that in Birmingham. I'll have to give you some anyway. My yaya makes the best. She's just right down the road.
Oh, nice. Oh yeah, that's who I need to hit up.
Oh yeah.
Nice. All right. So it's a if you're not already, make sure that you follow Matthew on Instagram. I'm throwing it up there in the stream, and I'll link it in the show notes as well. But let's get into some get to know you questions,
For sure.
Matthew. So we've touched on this already a little, but where are you from, and where do you currently live? I'll make sure to ask this to everybody.
Yes. So I am from Vestavia, Birmingham, Alabama, Vestavia Hills, Birmingham, Alabama, and I am currently in Vestavia Hills, Birmingham, Alabama. So uh, the apple, I guess, doesn't far too fall from the tree. We're back.
It's a love that. Love to see it. I think it's a little bit special to spend a little bit of time away, and like come
Yeah.
back. It like offers like a new lens. So
Mhm.
for me, pretty much all through college, I like would spend most of the summer on campus at Maryville, um, and then we lived there for a few years before moving back, obviously. So yeah, it's cool to like have been away for a bit and then see like a bunch of new restaurants and stuff pop up.
Yeah.
It feels a lot more like sudden of a change, even though I'm sure it was very gradual.
Yeah, I did enjoy my time at Auburn too. I like when I was at Auburn, I never came back to Birmingham, so it was really just 4 years away. But it is still Auburn, you know. It's
Hmm.
just like going to Tuscaloosa. It's just a little bit further away, um, but it was a great time away from Birmingham, and now I'm back. Stayed in Alabama though.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll dive into this a little more deeply later, and I'm looking forward
Hmm.
to hearing about this. But what is it that you do? And you can touch on both kind of aspects, maybe day job, side hustle, any
Yeah,
other kind of projects that you got going as well. What is it that you do?
yeah. So I'm a financial planner on the day job side of things, and that's that's always fun, always learning. Just kind of really trying to start my own small business. That's the day job part of the things. And then in the nighttime, I go to the lacrosse fields and I'm coaching lacrosse. So I actually just got out of a break and we're starting back, and I'm excited. And this is for a travel team. That's a mixture of like there's very few, but like some Hoover kids, Vestavia. It's a lot of Mountain Brook and some Briarwood kids, and they're now going to be in sixth grade. So they're the 2030 team. Um, and
Well,
they're goofballs. They're great. They're a good group of kids, but uh I get to work with them, and the whole point, like, we're trying to start with them young and go with them all through their years, which I have no idea how long I'll be able to do it, but at the moment I'm committed. And then I also coach in the springtime. I coach for the high school, which is pretty cool to go back and coach for the team you played for, and the coach that I played for. I get to coach with him. So,
wow, yeah, that's very cool. I'm excited to learn a little bit more about that experience too.
oh
Um,
yeah.
so I didn't start asking this question, but it was brought up to me, that it should be a part, because it's kind of integral to the name and theme of the podcast. But how old are
Hmm.
you?
I am 24 years old.
Nice, very good. That's a easy answer there. Um,
I feel
somehow like
every year. I'm
it's
just
a oh
kidding.
yeah, it's a yeah. I just hit 27, and
Yeah.
it's odd. I still I was telling the guests last week that I still in a lot of ways feel just 22.
Yeah,
But
you're killing 27. You're doing a dang good job. At
thank
least
you.
from what my perspective, it's great.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. What piece of media are you currently enjoying? So, yeah, book, podcast, music, TV, anything that you're kind of coming back to and enjoying over and over, or kind of progressing through.
Well,
What is that for you?
so um, I'm right now. I actually am really enjoying I don't know if you know, I'm into the MMA world, and I'm not
Okay.
a big media guy, so I'm not like I don't really listen to a bunch of podcasts. I'm not reading a bunch of books, that kind of thing. I have a couple books. They're more like habit forming book, that kind of stuff. Not really, novel type stuff. Um, but I've actually been really into Chael Sonnen. He was a former UFC fighter, and he commentates on UFC now. And he's kind of got this weirder, different approach, and I really just enjoy hearing him talk. So media wise, I'm into that, but I listen to music all day long. That's my form of entertainment. So
Nice, good deal.
as
Any
as we
artists or
connected over, um, yeah, I mean, I listen to all of them, but like I just went to the Young and the Giant Milky Chance concert, so they just flash back about, because they're kind of a bit older. But I mean, I love, what's his name, Jimmy, or what's his name, Charlie Crockett, Charlie
Oh,
Crockett.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh, love Charlie Crockett. So good. He was at
yeah,
Avondale not too long ago.
yeah. Avondale is such an awesome venue. It's I'm so happy that it's in Birmingham, and it's the perfect size.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I went to
Mhm.
a Lake Street Dive concert with my parents. It was me and Tabby and my parents.
That's awesome.
And it was so fun, so good. Really, really good stage presence. So shout out to Lake Street Dive.
Yeah, and I'm
Um,
pretty sure she's pregnant. I think she's about to have a baby.
really? It's a
Yeah,
see,
the lead singer.
that's that's awesome. Congrats to her. That's
Yeah,
great.
I know.
Um, what is something that you'd consider a luxurious necessity? And to kind of help you along, what I tend to think of it as is something that's integrated into your routine, something like a cup of coffee. You could maybe do without it, but in general, kind of helps to kickstart things. You really appreciate it. I've had a broad span of answers for this too, so don't feel pigeonholed to coffee or a similar answer there. So to take that question exactly how you want it.
I yeah, I think I'm just gonna go from the cuff here. But I think, like, I really enjoy what I do, like when I work and then I, coach, but sometimes it can get really busy. Just like having to do the nights and the kind of the morning stuff. And so I think that, like, kind of that necessity would be maybe going out to the lake and fishing, like hopping on a bass boat and get out on the water, going golf, like having that free time and really just enjoying it for what it is. And that's like what kind of fuels me back up. And, you know, it's kind
Yeah.
of priceless in a way.
Yeah, it's
I need it.
as much as it is like a something that you would think of as a luxury, it's required in that it
Yeah.
fills you back up and it charges you back up to get
It's what you
back.
got to like. I work to snowboard. I got to do it at least once a year. I got to try at least. And that
So
ain't,
there you go.
it's a expensive hobby.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to head to Boone as a make a little day trip to Boone or something
What's that?
it's Boone, North Carolina. There's like Sugar Mountain and Beach
Okay.
Mountain. They're kind of close. It's where Appalachian State is.
Okay.
But
Cool.
they've got a couple ski resorts and stuff over there.
I've only been to Snowshoe in West Virginia. That's the only, like, I guess, East Coast that I've ever skied.
Nice, very cool. Yeah, I'm trying to get back. I'm a skis guy. It was just
Yeah.
like just I don't know. I mean, maybe I could be persuaded to try out the snowboard with the right
I
teacher.
think you got to, if you're going to do it, you got to do it while you're young. Because if you wait, you're going to get hurt. And that's just like the small thing. You might tweak the wrist and be like, I'm done with this.
Hmm.
But I learned how to ski 2 years ago. So, like, and I like skiing. I'm a snowboarder by
Yeah,
heart, and I think skiing is fantastic. So I really don't blame people for liking skiing or not
yeah.
trying snowboarding.
The way that I've had it described to me too is that like the ceiling for the fun that you can have with snowboarding is higher. Like you can tend to have
Mhm.
a little bit more fun and it's more enjoyable, but like you can get the best that you're going to be at skiing like much faster because you're not spending
Yeah.
as much time with
Easier
like your butt.
easier to learn, harder to master. Snowboarding is harder to learn, easier to progress. But there's a fine line there. It's not like you're going to be doing all the fun stuff straight off the bat.
Yeah, 100%. And it's for me. It's what I like to. I just intuitively I felt like I could like do the standing up pieces much
Yeah.
easier. Whereas I think if I for all the time that you spend like on your butt or like flipping back over to your butt, then
Mm-hmm.
that can that could be a big turn off for some people. I think that it probably wouldn't bother me, but I don't know. It's that maybe if I get a little more fragile,
Yeah.
it would not be so fun.
Yeah. That will. It is very, very nice to just be able to stand up and use your poles to get around and that kind of
Hmm.
stuff. The snowboarding sitting down can be a bit ridiculous sometimes.
I went with somebody and he was skiing and we were at like the rental shop and they were like, oh, like the poles are over there. He's like, oh, that's okay, I don't need them. I was like, buddy, you're not gonna get any poles. Like, he's like, no, like I don't need it. I was like,
He's
I know
like
you don't.
skating.
And so yeah, I was like, I know you don't need them, and I know it's very possible to like, steer and do all that and like shuffle and whatnot, but like makes things much easier. I would think.
Yeah, it's
I
a
was a little
100%.
surprised to I was a little surprised to see him like just like forego the
Dude,
poles.
that's yeah. If they're included, why not? Come on, man.
Yeah, if it's part of the rental package, I would think go ahead and
Yeah,
snag them up.
no, those are necessities.
So it's a luxurious even. So,
Yeah,
well, what is something that that you'd consider a bit that you're doing? Trying to think of a good example of
a bit.
one
That's a
that.
good question. I don't know what you mean.
Oh, okay. So a big one for me right now, it kind of in the same vein as like an inside joke or a joke that maybe is only for yourself or for your like close group of friends maybe. One for
Hmm.
me is if Tabby and I are discussing something and it maybe about someone and it's you know it's a little off color. um I'll highlight and follow it up, and you know what, that's not a crime.
Yeah,
Like if it's um just to kind of I don't know, to take a little pressure. I'm trying to think of a good
yeah.
example of
I know.
what
I 100% got you, and I do kind of something a little similar. And I guess it's from Elf. I've been doing it for years and years, and my mom thinks it's hilarious, but nobody else does. So I guess I should stop. But it's like someone says something, it's kind of a bummer, and I'll be like, or maybe it's not a bummer, but I'll be like, in a good way, like in a good way, and
in
I
a good
just say
way.
that, and I think it's something from there's like an elf that says it, like a side elf that says in the movie Elf.
Hmm.
He's like, in a good way. He's like six. It's when they're talking bad about him or whatever.
Yeah,
So yeah, if that
adding
is
the
if that's the kind of what you're asking, that's my bit.
yeah, definitely. I would say so. Kind of recurring the the category that I kind of think of too is it in the same area as like a that's what she said
Yeah,
kind of situation.
100%.
Like it's your like it comes up frequently. You apply it. It's a very specific lens of how you are viewing like humor or just conversation in general. So, thank you. Good
Yeah,
answer. In a good way. I'm gonna pocket that
yeah,
one. I
in a
like
good
that.
way. Could have been bad, but it was in a good way.
That's a you mentioned that that you're pretty into music and you're listening to it
Yeah,
a good bit. This is a question that I've been asking for a while. Is given the opportunity to replace the national anthem with any song on your playlist, what song kind of comes to your mind, and tell me a little bit about that. So some good examples that I've heard. Freebird, it's classic kind of answer, evokes some patriotism on its own. I've heard some Nicki Minaj. Um, I've heard I've heard some Willow Smith. I've heard a whole range of answers, but I'd be interested to hear your take.
see, I'm a music junk. Like I listen to so much. Like I'll be listening to rap one moment, and then I'll be listening to alternative the next, and then I'm listening to Married Life from the movie Up the next. Like I just like noise, I guess. Um, So I probably want to. I kind of, if it was the national anthem, I would want to pick kind of a more just kind of a low key song, small artist, and just. But I don't know. Like it'd have to have some good lyrics behind it. Um, I'm trying to think. I
I've
mean,
asked this.
I guess. Do what?
I've asked this question before too. Like I had a it's not one of my professors, but I got to get close with him in one of the programs that I was working in. But he was environmental science or kind of an adjacent field, and focus of study. But he said, "This land is your land," Woody Guthrie, and I was like, "Oh, that's a really good answer." Kind of very serious in the way that you respond. But also in that same asking that same question to a different professor, he said like "Highway to Hell." I was like,
Yeah,
that's also that's also a good
that's
response.
but that's
Equally good responses.
yeah. It's a really tough question. I mean, I think I could think about it all day and say a bunch of different songs as like good options. But if I had to pick one, it just kind of hit me, came out of the blue here. But I mean, and this isn't even a deep song, but maybe American Pie if I'm being patriotic. Don
It's a
McLean, American, because like that's I don't know,
I
that's a
feel
good
that
song. That's a
it's a
great song.
it's a good song. I like it a lot. I think you'd get a lot of people following suit with you on that.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of people are gonna throw that out there as well. Good answer. I
yeah,
like it.
and it's already an anthem in itself in a way.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It's one step away from being
I know. Yeah,
where we needed to be. It's got
just
the
not.
American
Yeah,
component.
just not national
It's
in a
already
good
an
way.
anthem in and of
In
itself. Yeah, in a good way.
a good way.
Love it. Love it. Last question that I'll kind of highlight is, how do we know each other? Could you maybe connect the dots on
Yeah.
what our relationship is?
So, well, I mean, I've known you forever, pretty much. I mean, in all memory that is had. I grew up with your brother. Me and Max were great friends growing up. We're in elementary schools together. Just always good buddies through it all. And has just always kept in touch. And I mean, heck, y'all's house might have been one of the first places I ever spent the night, kind of thing. So,
Hmm.
and then going to Covenant, those were great days too. Going to Wednesday night church and all that stuff was just always so fun. So we're just growing up, man. We grew up together, and you also were in the same grade as my brother. So,
Yeah,
it's kind of a double whammy, and it was cool to. I love that overlap between our grades with brothers and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah, absolutely. I kind of think of there's a grouping of like 4 or 5 summers where it was where we were just kind of like it's a at each other's houses all the time.
All the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
snow
and
days, summer
mhm.
days, swim team. I'm free. Like we could keep talking. There's more stuff keeps coming up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that you mentioned too the all of the kind of the brother relationships like
Yeah.
in the same grades. Um, it's a I hung out with Will Travis recently. Talked about
Yes.
Joseph, obviously.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm getting together with Joseph this weekend. Actually.
that's a yeah, so cool. I love getting to see kind of all the connections like siblings wise like of that and to that age group. It's been cool. It's been awesome. But yeah. All right. Well, let's get into a little bit. Obviously, we've touched on what you do, but I want to know a little bit more. How did you get started with lacrosse? What was your initial connection to the sport?
So initial connection is Alex started playing lacrosse. My older brother starts playing lacrosse. I guess when he might have been in like fourth or fifth grade, and it was because of actually it was Pete Turner that got him into it. So they did this little fall camp, and I remember that. And then Pete was like, Alex, like it was fun coming out here. You need to come to this little workshop that these northerners were coming down because nobody in the South knows how to play lacrosse at this time,
Mhm.
really. And so we had to import these people to teach us how to play. And these guys from Long Island, and they all were in like UMass, Colgate, like these crazy schools. I'd never heard of them. And they come
Right.
down and they give us one of these workshops, and I'm in third grade, and I loved it because I think I was blessed in the fact that I always kind of had that athletic, like I could always do something athletic with a sport. Like I wasn't just terrible. So I had the potential. And then I actually, at the last day, and I was a very chunky kid, so I did not like running around. You know this. So this was me having to learn that I had to work for some things if I wanted to be able to play lacrosse. But the last day at this workshop, my name gets pulled out of the hat, and Chris Fiore, who is like the Paul Rabel of today, who's like the biggest like lacrosse star of that time because he had the fastest shot, hands me, like I won a Wonder Boy lacrosse stick, and it was just the shaft, and I got it, and it was like the coolest thing ever. And so I just like after that I fell in love with it. I used that stick my senior year of high school. That's what I coach with today, is that shaft. I don't know how it never broke, but that's how I got into it. I know that was kind of a long story, but I love lacrosse, so it was a great sport to me.
No, that's great. So it's having that connection young, you've got your older brother kind of aiding in that, and just like, feeding off of, someone else who is a close like family friend. It's coming in, and then you have, it's interesting to me that it's from kind of the outsider perspective. I think of now, like the lacrosse community in Birmingham. I think of it as bigger and going back much further. So to hear you say like, oh yeah, like there was this importation, people coming down because lacrosse was pretty unknown. There wasn't a whole lot, like even at that time, of outlets for it. So I think that's really fortunate that you got to connect with the sport so young, despite the fact that there wasn't as much of a presence in Birmingham at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I really do. I feel that's a great point, because I'm lucky that was a thing, and that we even like my dad thought that it was a good idea. Like my dad didn't play lacrosse; he was a baseball guy. So just to even be like, oh yeah, let's go try this thing out. I think that's a great thing that happened, because really all at that time, all that this Birmingham lacrosse was a bunch of northern dads that moved down because their wife was from the South, or because they got relocated because of a job. And they were just like, I played at Hopkins back in the day, like I got this stick, and they're trying to teach everybody, and they're like, nobody knows anything about it. So they were
Yeah.
having to rebuild an organization. And I think it's come a long way. I just wish the competition could be a little bit better, but that'll come.
Yeah, for sure. And I would, this is something that just kind of occurred to me in, your pursuit of the sport. Obviously it's something that requires equipment. You're replacing your shafts and like the netting and the heads of the sticks and stuff.
It's
Have
expensive.
you noticed maybe a difference in accessibility, just like if you were to walk into like an academy or like a Dick's Sporting Goods, from like
Yeah.
when you first started playing the sport to now? Do you feel like you have more access to like some of the equipment that you need, or do you still largely have to order stuff online, or what is that like?
So it's funny because like growing up, I like all the sporting goods stores like Dick's, like Amazon didn't really sell anything, but like Dick's, they would sell the equipment and they completely price it wrong. So sometimes you get like really good deals because they had no idea what they were doing, which is
Hmm.
crazy. I don't know how they let that slip. Like I got I got a what is called a D pole, like the defender's pole, the 6 foot long pole, for like $110, and it was retailing at like lacrosse stores for 200. And I was like, sweet, let's go.
Nice.
Um, but today, I think it's grown to that. Yeah, they have more in the stores. I mean, it's probably about the same amount, and they have the top of the line stuff, and not a whole like. There's not a lot of depth in what they carry. But there's lacrosse stores around that are great. I actually know a guy. He coached me. Coach Ryan Shea. He owns Lax Unleashed, which is in Birmingham, and it's a great store. You can get anything lacrosse related there. But It is really, it's all, everything's online buying, and that's where the access is. And so it's like I think the access comes from like, watching it on Instagram, and you see these guys using the sticky one or whatever, and then you go buy it online. I think that's typically what people do. I never thought I'd be buying stuff again, but I've had to buy 2 heads in the past year of coaching because I keep breaking them. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
don't know. I think it's still kind of hard to get the lacrosse overall compared to other sports. It's not terribly accessible, but you can go get it if you really want it. You're gonna get it. So
yeah, gotcha. Thanks for touching on that, because I just kind of thought about, like, I think growing up in Birmingham, it was a pretty common experience to go shopping like with your parents in preparation for like the baseball season. Like, you're getting your pants and like seeing if your cleats like still fit. Go get a new glove if you need, like, but having not had that experience with lacrosse, I was like, I don't know that you would be able to just go get everything that you needed like that. Because one, in my
yeah,
head, it seems like more equipment total, and at the time, especially in the South, just not as much buzz around the sport. One of the previous guests on the podcast is Fletcher Hare, and he is a professional ultimate frisbee player.
oh, that's
And
awesome.
so
That's
yeah,
so cool.
yeah, that's a super cool guy. I grew up with him at Covenant, and so it was great to have him on.
Awesome.
But
What is
um,
Fletcher? What did they call him growing up?
just Fletcher,
Did he have a
as
nickname?
far as I know.
Fletcher. Okay.
Just Fletcher. He went to Altamont. If
He
that
wasn't the
helps.
guy. He wasn't the guy that walked around with no shoes all the time.
No,
Okay.
that'd be Charles Dye, and he went by Chig.
Okay. Okay. Chig. That's why. Okay. I had done totally wrong.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a sidebar. I believe that he is doing ranch work in
Cool.
Montana or Wyoming or something to that effect.
Dude,
To
that's so cool. Yellowstone in real
oh
life.
oh 100%. To return back to it, if I can backtrack, and try to make it back. But I like, just in terms of exposure and like being familiar with the sport, like I don't know, I don't feel confident that I could learn where a lacrosse like pickup game is like available, like in the area around. But like that was kind of my first exposure to organized ultimate play, was just like in like a park in Homewood. Like, someone invited me out to play, and the difference there was that you need like cleats, you might get gloves, and you might get like some other like running adjacent equipment, like some leggings or stuff like that. But in general, it's that's kind of it. You
Yeah.
need to buy a disc, and then you make sure that it's within certain parameters, but otherwise you're good to go.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
was
that's
that
what
ever? Sorry, go ahead.
that hinders people. That hinders people from kind of getting into the sport. Knowing that, I mean, it's like I want to go play in a beer hockey league, but I don't want to drop $1,200 on pads because there's so many different pads. You
Yeah.
know. But yeah, I mean, it is a bummer. But I actually just at this private lesson that I came from right before this, that I was talking to Jim, the dad, and we actually pulled up on the field. We went to Central, so they live right next to it, and we took a goal down to the Central Fields, that bottom
Okay.
field, which
Yeah.
is not even a school anymore. So that's crazy. But we pull up.
Jarring.
Yeah, it is. But we pull up, and there's all these girls practicing flag football. And I was like, oh, is this like the powder puff? Like, are they practicing? And Coach Broom, if you remember her from East, she's
Yes.
standing out there. And I'm like, holy crap, this is crazy in the flesh.
Wow.
But I didn't go say hey. And if I do see her next time, I will definitely be going and saying hey to her. But they're doing this flag football, and I'm like, Jim, like, what is this? And it's a sanctioned high school sport. Female flag football is.
No, that's so cool.
And then it's cool. It's a great opportunity. But I was like, are you they can't sanction lacrosse because lacrosse isn't a school sanctioned sport, it's a club sport.
Mhm.
And the reason is because these high schools can't afford to supply. You have to supply. I mean, yes, you have to do spirit, but you can get paid. But for the most part, they have to supply these pads to these kids, and they
Mhm.
can't afford all the helmets. It's helmets, shoulder pads, elbow pads, gloves. I don't think you're gonna have to supply the cup and cleats. I don't think you have to supply those, but that's just so
Yeah.
much equipment. Um,
Yeah. It's yeah, that was one thing that I was gonna ask about. So I'm glad that you've kind of led into it there is that my recollection of watching our team play was that it was a club team. It wasn't affiliated directly with the school. It wasn't a varsity sport. Um,
mhm.
and I was wondering had if that had changed. And obviously you've mentioned that it hasn't. So it seems like from your perspective that the main obstacle there is just the accessibility, the magnitude of all the different equipment that you've got to get from the ground up.
That That and it's all that combined with also a bit of the people that are really kind of higher up in the organizations of lacrosse, like the Greater Birmingham Youth Lacrosse Organization, GBYLA. Um, they don't really want to force this change because every lacrosse coach that is coaching that's good now would not be coaching anymore because you have to be teaching at the school. Yeah, you could probably make a contract work and like bring these people in, but the schools don't want to go through that hassle either. Um, it's in that's the I think in my opinion the biggest problem that is in lacrosse is that the at least in Birmingham and I think around the South is um, the coaches quality of coaches is not always that great. We do have great coaches here. Don't get me wrong. Like there's a lot of great coaches, but sometimes you get people that don't necessarily know what they're talking about, or maybe they're not able to. It's like somebody, the fat nutritionist, you know, like hey, like you need to do this to get in shape, blah blah blah. But you're sitting there and you just eating a bag of Cheetos. So, I mean, I don't know. I
The
don't think
to
it'll
maybe
be
maybe
sanctioned
if I could put
anytime
it
soon.
to just from a practitioner standpoint, someone who maybe has the knowledge but doesn't have the either practical experience or the wherewithal to like explain like, hey guys, here's why we're running this drill, or
Yeah,
here are the fundamentals that we're going to be
yeah.
kind of keeping in our mind as we're doing this, so that we can be prepared for these type of situations in game. So like,
Hmm.
is am I understanding you right?
Yes, yeah, that's exactly right. It's I don't know. I we'll see. I think it could be sanctioned, but it's going to be a big deal if it happens. Like
Hmm.
and the coach and I just want quality of coaches to be well. We need to be teaching these players the right way. Um, Giving them each season needs to have some quality. You have to get some quality out of each season. I think like you got to take something away. Um, and I don't know. We'll see where it goes, but I just I think if we keep it out of being sanctioned for a little bit and kind of build up the competitiveness, it's going to make it way better when they do finally do this because I'm sure it's coming. Like the sport's growing a bunch. Like if you, I know the algorithm's different, and I probably got the algorithm that shows me all the social media, but I see like you used to not be able to watch lacrosse games on ESPN Plus or all this
Yeah.
stuff growing up, and so even just watching that, and you watch people turn that on, and some people are like, "Gosh, turn it off," but it's pretty cool. Like it's like hockey on grass, and those guys are really talented and can do some pretty cool stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so like if we can get the competition up to just kind of maybe D3 college level guys coming through high school, and then we just keep these good coaches for now, it's going to make it much more sense when they turn to sanctioning because some coaches are actually going to transfer and probably become teachers. Like I've actually talked to some that are willing to do that, that's a big deal. That's how committed some of these people are to it.
Yeah. For me it's kind of, um you're being a proponent and an advocate for the sport. Like it's a long-term investment for the future of, what
I
what
hope. I
what
hope.
yeah,
I
for
hope
you,
that's the goal.
you identified your experience of like how you fell in love with lacrosse. You're in the third and fourth grade. you go to some camp, you go to another like workshop, and that was like where where the connection first kind of started and was cultivated. But like you do ultimately want more like the in order to foster these long like connections and loves like for the sport, like you need the avenues to be able to exercise, you know, like I love the sport, I want to be able to play it. And like one of the coolest things that I could think to do is throw on like my school colors to be able to play. Yeah,
Yeah, and I will say, I think that I also say kind of all that just because, like, I want the competition to rise, because that's also kind of a draw out of the sport. Is like if you're in a sport and there's a couple teams, like maybe it's Mountain Brook, Vestavia, Briarwood, those guys are like they're pretty good, and those guys go and play travel ball in the summer. They're getting better all year long, and then you got teams that are outside. They don't have the best coaches, but it's like, there's a bunch of guys on the team, but they're really not learning they're not, when they play us, they see what lacrosse looks like. When
mhm,
they're at practice, they're not learning how to play what we can do, like what is supposed to be done to beat what we can do. So you're
right,
losing 19-3. Then you quit the next year. And these guys that are great athletes, we're in Alabama, we got great athletes, aren't getting taught the right way. And that doesn't mean that they're going to be great the next year, but it's just, and I'm not, I also don't like, I think everybody that I think some of these coaches are the most selfless people. Like they've got jobs, they've got kids, they've got wives, and they're out there and they're like, I don't have any of that. And I'm out there and it drains me sometimes, but they're out there investing into this so much. And it's cool to
yeah.
see the selflessness in that.
No, that's really great. Yeah, and um, I see a lot of parallels of just the initial kind of investment. I I do want to return to kind of something that you said about like
Yeah.
the algorithm and like not
Yeah.
being able to see
They're listening to
um,
us. They can
yeah,
hear
not
us.
like you initially like growing up, it would be like pretty challenging for you to access lacrosse content, be that YouTube videos or watching a game on ESPN or like
Mhm.
following an account that's dedicated only to a professional team or something of that vein. So yeah, it's what shows up on the algorithm for you? Is it like gear reviews? Is it like what kind of shows up in that way? I'd love to hear that.
You're asking for today? For today, what shows
Yeah,
up?
like if you're on TikTok or Instagram, and it's like what's the piece of lacrosse um
Yeah,
that
it's
like
a lot of
comes across your screen?
highlights.
Highlights.
A
So
lot of highlights.
this is like professional teams, college teams, or mix of both. What does
It's
it look
more
like?
it's the PLL, which is actually the newer. I think it's been around for maybe 3 years. I don't want to be dating that wrong, but it's the new. There's the MLL and the PLL, and the
Okay.
PLL is trying to progress a little bit more as a sport. But it's really highlights from those games and maybe some World Cup games kind of stuff. But I do also get the coaching content. So like it'll be some coach giving like a lesson on the field, and all the guys are just listening. And I take that and try to use it the best I can on the field if it makes sense. But I try to be practical as a coach because some of these kids are real stubborn. So I got to
Yeah.
speak to them when they want to be spoken to.
Surely not. Um, Man, that's that's funny. So you mentioned kids and they want to be spoken to in a very specific way, or maybe it can be kind of hard to break that shell sometimes. But what impact have you seen yourself making in being in a coaching role?
I don't like necessarily thinking that. I don't really think too much about it, but I know that it's happening and I enjoy it. The relationships like I've been able to build with the families and like not just my players, but like their siblings, like they're younger, whatever. Um, I, it's a lot of fun. I know how much I cared about my coaches growing up, and they didn't know at all how much I cared, and I don't know how much, they care, but I
Mhm.
just know that I'm there and it's good for me and I enjoy it. They're good for me, and I know I hope and I try to be good for them. And whatever that looks like, I hope, I'm there. Like I want to be there. Like the kids that graduated this past year, I'm gonna miss them, man. I'll send them like, I'm a
Yeah.
music junkie. I'll send them music every now. I'm like, enjoy it, boys. Like, and I just want the best for them. So I hope, and like I stay in touch with my coaches to this day. They're still some of the closest people that I know, and um, so I hope that a big part of like I guess who I am is I really, and this is why I appreciate like you reaching out so much, is because I truly believe in like you should never not take advantage, in a bad way, but like see your surroundings and your network as a benefit, because like the
Mhm.
people you grow up with, like don't just say, oh, I grew up with them, and like like if I see you on the side of the street, I might run over and say, what's up, you know what I mean, like how
Yeah,
are you?
absolutely.
And sometimes as you get older, you realize sometimes those conversations can be, get a little more, not, they change. And I just, I love when people are just open to those opportunities and taking those opportunities, like reach back out to me when I get older. If you're my player, I'd love to talk to you.
Yeah,
So I don't know
the
what impact. I
genuine
know.
connection there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I don't know what impact, but I know I hope it's a good one.
no, that's great, and that's great to hear. I'm sure that just knowing the character that you have, and um, the importance that you hold, with with coaching people, especially as it relates to the sport and these families and stuff. I know that you're making an impact. So to keep moving with it. I'm proud to know you for
Yeah.
that. What how do you, so being a coach versus an athlete, competing in the sport, how do you relate to it differently? Is it's a But that could be by means of technique or practice, or physical, just being in shape. But like what how do you relate to the sport differently?
Well, that's a brutal question, Ron. That's a brutal question. No, it's not. So I was very I played a lot of lacrosse in like my life. Like when I played for like maybe 8 years plus, and there were some pretty committed years. And so I was able to run around for days back in the day. I could run all day long, and that's what I
Hmm.
never wanted to be off the field.
Yeah.
And not going to deciding not to go play in college was kind of a big deal, but also I knew I wanted to go to Auburn. I was dating a girl at the time that she was going on. It was just all that. Like I wasn't even. I was like, I'm going to go be in a fraternity, and I'm going to have fun. I'm going to do that thing, and I'm going to study. That whatever.
Hmm.
Um, but now coming back, I never really practiced too much in college or did much of anything. I coached 1 year, my freshman summer in college. I coached a young team. They were like 10-year-olds.
Hmm.
But I also became really good friends with a guy who's from Huntsville who was in my chemistry lab. And his name is Bryce Bennick, and he was the president of the lacrosse team for like 2 years. And I never knew him growing up. I played against him, never knew him. But he would get me to come out and play every now and then. So I would shoot every now and then, but I pretty much stayed in shape during college. And then after college, I started gaining weight when I started coaching again. And now we're at the spot where I'm playing men's league, and I'm having to really get back into shape to do what I used to be able to do. But also, you don't lose your stick skills, which is a beautiful thing. So that's the nice thing about lacrosse. It's like I might not be able to run around, but I can throw the ball and I can catch the ball. You know,
That's yeah.
um,
That's the
and I
that's
might,
cool.
and I'm hard on myself too. I'm hard on myself. Like I wish I could do what I used to could do, but obviously, if I'm not doing it every day like I used to be doing it, why would I be able to do it the same way?
Yeah, I feel that you go to do some kind of move, and you find a little bit more rest than you were hoping for, and you're like,
I
gosh,
get sore
I
the
used to
next day.
I
I get
used to
sore.
crank
Yeah,
this top 90. It's all
yeah.
day long, and now I'm sailing it all the way to the
Well,
right.
the sales happen, but it's a weird dynamic when you coach lacrosse. Kind of like what I was saying earlier. Like maybe if you haven't if you're a coach and you can say all the right things, but you throw a ball and you don't know how to, like, obviously all the kids can watch you and they're like, no, you don't know how to throw the ball. But like those kids will watch you, and if you miss, they destroy. It's like, oh, well, I can't believe you missed. You're a coach and you miss. Like you can't miss, which is such a shame because everyone misses every now and then. But I've been thankful that I can still, the accuracy is still there, and so these kids can't crap on me too hard yet.
That's good.
The speed and accuracy is there. The speed with the feet is not.
Yeah, that's good. So you mentioned you play in a men's league. What is that like?
Yeah.
Is the way that the game is played a little bit different because of maybe you're dealing with a variety of ages, different variety of levels of athleticism? What is that kind of like?
Yeah, so it depends on the tournament. The Birmingham Men's League, I don't play in too much. That's more of just some local guys who get together, former college. Like it's just teams are made in the summer, and then we just play on Sundays, and that's fun. But I don't get to play that much, so I play on this men's league team that actually is some of those guys with a mixture of some like UAB college guys and just a whole smorgasbord we got over there. But it's actually sponsored by Cahaba Brewing, and so we got these cool pennies. It says Cahaba Brewing,
Very cool.
which I love. I love that penny, and I got the same number I was in high school. Had to do that, but it
Nice.
is a lot different. The field's a lot smaller, and it's more of there's actually,
Okay.
and it's the lacrosse rules because of it being a new and upcoming sport change a lot.
Really?
Very small things, but as a lacrosse, like if knowing the sport, it's very little things. Like on face-offs, you can't put your knee on the ground. You got to put your stick. You can't put your hand on the like a certain part of the head of the shaft when you're starting.
Okay.
And the
Interesting.
shot, they got a shot clock implemented, like I think about 5 years ago, and all these things to just change the sport. But and I don't know the correct way that this game is played. I want to say it's tournament play and like world game type. This is how they play like world game events and tournament play for professionals. But it's a shorter field, and it typically you don't face off after a goal. So at the beginning of the game, you'll face off. I mean, a face off is the two guys coming to the middle of the field, put their sticks together, and then blow the whistle. They clamp their stick heads and they try to wiggle it out and kick it out to their team. You scoop it up, first possession, you go either way. Once someone scores on this shorter field, instead of going back and facing off like you would in a college lacrosse game, the goalie gets the ball out of the net and clears it right away. So like you're breaking out onto a clear as your goalie gets scored on or as he makes a save. Like it doesn't matter unless they miss and then they back up the shot and they keep possession.
I feel
It's a
okay.
lot faster. It's
That
awesome.
feels like much closer to like the flow of the game for like basketball.
Yeah.
Like it's because like as soon as
Yeah, you're right.
regardless of a score or a miss, like you could be looking at being back on the other side of the field. Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting because I've not watched a lot of lacrosse, but from what I remembered, you had the face off at each interaction, regardless of who
Yeah.
scored. So that's interesting to
Yeah.
hear.
It's fun. It's a good fast play, and like also like you're asking about the spectrum of players. Like there's people that are just out of college. There's some college kids, which is always fun to beat up on some of the college kids if you can, because you got to show the young bucks whatever. Even though I'm still young, so I can't say that, but it's whatever. But there's guys that played at like Notre Dame and they're in their 40s and they're in the best shape. You'd be like, yeah, I want to look like that when I'm 40, and they're running around kicking. I mean, they're really good. Like these guys are really pretty good. And then there's also people that they're out having fun. Like some tournaments you can be drinking beer on the sideline and some you're not. So it's a good time. It's fun.
Yeah.
But it can get competitive. So
yeah, that's awesome. Well, I don't know in terms of accessibility and skill level how easy it would be for me to access, but maybe with the proper coaching from you, I could make it out
yeah,
there.
you could be there if you wanted to go tomorrow and we had something. You could come out and like it wouldn't be a problem.
Nice. All right. Just that.
You just might be like, "Whoa,
I'll.
I need to work on some things."
It's a yeah. I feel like I feel like from a base level of fitness, I could do okay. Just like running around and stuff. Maybe not against like some of the like
Yeah.
college guys.
It's my
Um,
cardio shot, man.
mm, yeah, it's humbling
Dude,
very very fast.
I I actually was humbled to the max because I this past it was I guess a year and a half ago I got asked because the UAB men's club team I happened to be very close with like the president and whatever, and some guys couldn't come to a tournament, the day two of a tournament, and they were playing like Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, their club teams, and um, they asked me to come play, and I'm like, I had like, and unfortunately so, like, and I don't, I mean, I had gone out with some buddies the night before, and they asked me to
Mhm.
come play in this tournament. I was like, okay, sure, like I'm coming, and I pulled up, and I thought that I was gonna be able to run around because I've been coaching and I've been throwing, I can throw and shoot, and I don't know if you've ever seen the little clip from Instagram of the Tennessee football lineman that like they're playing Alabama and the guy just throws up and looks at the Alabama player and like starts like shaking like he's like yeah just
It's like
like
the
I'm getting that
intimidation tactic. Yeah.
yeah. And so I was like playing and it wasn't like it wasn't really that bad, but all the water I was just like throwing up water because I was so out of shape because I forgot the intensity of like running at another man and trying to beat him when he's trying to beat you. Like I hadn't
Yeah.
done it in 5 years. So like I was like running like 20 yards and I'd be so out of breath just because I was like, I put everything into that 20 yards, you know?
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Yeah.
so it was so humbling, but that doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't. We're good. So we're good.
Good deal. I love it. I love it. Um, So last kind of question for our
Mhm.
time, and I really appreciate you spending the time with me this
Yeah,
evening. Get
appreciate you having
to
me.
catch up with you and everything. What do you think is in the future for your relationship with lacrosse? You know, as a sport, what do you kind of envision for yourself in the way that you relate to it?
To be very honest, like, like I feel like I know, like, in a way I have my right answer, what people would want me to say. But
Hmm.
like, to be very honest, I would love to go maybe another year or two in the high school, like varsity coaching. That I think it's a brutal thing to do. It is so much time for and it's not about the money that you get from it, but it's a lot of time, and it's pretty much volunteer work, so it's just a bit, and it's something that obviously I would imagine through the next couple of years I would have some other responsibilities that I'm going to have to take care of that might trump lacrosse.
Hmm.
So but with that, like I always want like to be like I think I might be coaching for a while. Honestly, probably more unlikely. I always want to be there for the sport, and I hope that once I get through my coaching phase, which I think will, maybe 2 more years, I would love to like help if I, God willing, have like a son or something. I'll be all for it if he wants to play, or if girls lacrosse is so different. But if I have a daughter and she wants to play, um, your girls, if they get into lacrosse, maybe I'll have to come out and toss with them or
So
something like that.
there
Like
you
that
go.
kind of stuff. I'll always have the love for it. So
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome to be thinking about future generations. You know, aside from the way that you're, that's like coaching guys now. Yeah, that's awesome to be able to be, thinking about it in that capacity.
yeah,
Well, so Matthew, again, I want to thank you for your time. I think that's going to
yes,
conclude
thank you,
this
Roland.
episode here.
You're doing a cool thing. I really like it. I think it's awesome. It's a
So
cool. I mean, it's a cool idea for a podcast. It's awesome.
nice, thanks, man. Well, you to give some episodes a listen, and give me some critiques here, and we'll see what we can learn from and get better
For
at.
sure. For
Good
sure.
deal. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening. If you made it this far in the episode, really appreciate it. Make sure that you shout us out on your Instagram stories, everything like that. Spread the word. Tag your mom, tag your grandma. Um, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.